Good day, everyone. My name is Ignacio de Guzman III, and I would like to present to you my portfolio Part 2 in this particular subject, Philosophical and Socio-Anthropological Foundations of PE and Sports. And in today's discussion, we will be dealing with some of the individual, dual, and team sports around the world. But before we proceed, let me tell you first the objectives of this lesson. So, the objectives of this lesson are to identify the different sports from selected countries such as in individual sports, bowling, golf, archery, weightlifting, and surfing. And in dual sports, table tennis, badminton, chess, lawn tennis, and billiards. And in team sports, basketball, water polo, soccer, field hockey, and volleyball. Identify all the equipment used in the sports above mentioned and trace their origin. And how to play all the sports being mentioned, their rules and regulations and violations. Moving on, first on the list under the individual sports we have bowling. So here's the brief history of bowling. Back in the 1930s, a British anthropologist named Sir Flinders Petrie discovered a primitive bowling set in the grave of a child. So, what is interesting about that? The grave dated back nearly 5,000 years to the height of the ancient Egyptian Empire. Since then, other anthropologists have discovered hieroglyphics and artwork depicting a sport remarkably similar to modern-day bowling. Even more, Professor Eda Bresciani of the University of Pisa uncovered an ancient hall approximately 90 miles south of Cairo that appears to be one of the first indoor bowling alleyways. An outdoor game for most of its history, it became popular in the mid-19th century after the introduction of indoor lanes in New York in 1840 using only 9 pins. In 1841, most states, including New York, banned bowling at the game of 9 pins because of widespread gambling. It is popularly believed that today's game of 10 pins was devised to circumvent the laws against the game of 9 pins. The first standardized rules were established in New York City on September 9, 1895. Today, bowling is enjoyed by 95 million people in more than 90 countries worldwide and continues to grow through entertainment media such as video games for home consoles and handheld devices. Here are the bowling facilities and equipment. Number 1, bowling lane. A bowling lane is 60 feet long from the foul line to the head pin. There are gutters on either side of the bowling lane. If the ball veers off the lane, it goes into the gutters and is outplayed. The approach area is 15 feet long and ends to the foul line. The bowler cannot overstep the foul line during his approach or his shot won't count. Number 2, bowling pins. 10 pins are arranged at the end of the bowling lane at the beginning of every frame. They are arranged in a triangle formation, with the point of the triangle facing the bowler. The locations of the pins are assigned numbers 1 to 10. The head pin is pin 1. All pins will earn the bowler 1 point if they are hit. Number 3, bowling ball. A bowling ball is a hard spherical ball used to knock down bowling pins in the sport of bowling. Ball used in 10-pin bowling typically have holes for 2 fingers and the thumb. Number 4, bowling shoes. Each performance, bowling shoe serves a different purpose. One bowling shoe is for sliding and the other is for breaking. Bowling shoes are designed specifically for right-handed or left-handed bowlers. And number 5, bowling bag. Bowling bags do make it a lot easier to transport a bowling ball, shoes, and other accessories from place to place, from home to bowling center or to tournaments for the avid bowler. So how to play bowling? Bowling is an individual sport. One can play on their own or against other competitors. Play begins with the person throwing or bowling the ball down a lane. One bowling game consists of 10 frames. Each frame is equal to 1 turn for the bowler. The bowler's objective is to knock down as many pins as possible in a frame, ideally all of them. A bowler can roll the ball twice in each frame, provided that he does not hit a strike. Here is a sample of a bowling frame sheet for scoring. Next from the list we have the golf. Golf originated from a game played on the eastern coast of Scotland, in an area close to the royal capital of Edinburgh. In those early days, players would attempt to hit a pebble over sand dunes and around tracks using a bent stick or club. During the 15th century, Scotland prepared to defend itself, yet again, against an invasion by the Old Enemy. The game is first mentioned in an Act of Scottish Parliament in 1457, which called for it to be banned alongside football. King James II of Scotland prohibited the playing of games as it was a distraction from military training, and he felt perfecting archery would be more worthwhile sporting pursuit. After several more bannings throughout the 15th century, and golf being lambasted as an unprofitable sport, restrictions of playing the game were removed with the Treaty of Glasgow coming into effect in 1502. Today, the Scots are extremely proud of their golfing heritage and their ancient courses that continue to pull in thousands of visitors to the small country each year, as they continue to play their part in the history of golf. Here are the equipment of golf. Number 1, golf clubs. It consists of a shaft, a grip, and a club head. Dogs are used to propel balls towards the holes on a golf course. A typical set of golf clubs usually come in a bag of 14, with a variety of woods, irons, wedges, and putters. Each type of golf club is designed specifically to provide different degrees of trajectories and distances. Number 2, golf balls. Fashioned from synthetic materials, golf balls usually have a dimple pattern on their surface. This pattern promotes better aerodynamics, helping to facilitate a ball spin and elevation when it's hit. Number 3, tee. Made with wood or plastic, tees are stuck in the ground in order to elevate a ball's position, making it easier for the player to hit it. It is made up of a pointed bottom that is driven into the ground, and a head for balls to be placed on. Tees are only allowed when players are making the first throw of each hole. Number 4, ball markers. Under various circumstances, golf balls may be lifted from their positions on the green. However, their exact spots must be marked accurately in order to ensure fairness. These markers are usually a thin, circular object made from either metal or plastic. They may also be substituted by any other small object such as a coin. Number 5, ball mark repair tool, also referred to as a pitchfork or divot tool. These items are used to fix any marks or minor damage that has been made by a ball. A player usually uses this tool to lightly push surrounding parts of the turf into the recess made, in order to aid quicker growth of grass in the area. They should end off the mending process by smoothing the surface with the flat bottom of a putter. Number 6, gloves. Gloves help players to achieve better grip and more controlled swings, as well as reduce chances of skin abrasions. They are usually worn on the golfer's non-dominant hand, though one may wear them on both sides too. Number 7, shoes. Golf shoes often have spikes on their bottom surfaces. These are made from either metal or plastic and help with balance, especially when the ground is wet. Some courses prohibit the use of metal spikes as they can cause serious damage to the turf. Here are the rules and regulations of golf. You must play the golf ball where it lies, unless there is a rule that allows you to move it. The golf course may not be changed to gain an advantage, unless there is a rule that allows for a specific change. If your ball is in the bunker or water hazard, your golf club cannot touch the ground or water prior to your actual swing. If it does, you must take a penalty stroke. If If you accidentally play the wrong golf ball, oops, you get a 2-stroke penalty. On the green, you may mark and lift your ball to clean it or get it out of another golfer's way. When putting the ball, must not hit the flag. If the golf ball does hit the flag, it is a 2-stroke penalty. If you lose the ball in water hazard, you can jump the ball behind the hazard and in line with the golf hole. You must take a penalty stroke. If you lose the ball out of bounds, you can take a penalty stroke and then replay the shot. If your ball is unplayable, you may take a penalty stroke and then jump the golf ball behind where the ball was, and in line with the hole or drop the golf ball within 2 dot lengths. You are allowed a maximum of 14 clubs in your golf bag. Golfers must tee off behind and between the tee markers, never in front of the tee markers. Let's now proceed to archery. Archery is the practice of using a bow to shoot arrows. It has been historically used in hunting and combat and has now become a precision sport. The history of archery dates to the late Paleolithic period, around 10,000 BC, when the Egyptian and neighboring Nubian cultures used bows and arrows archery for the purposes of hunting and warfare. It became an official Olympic event in 1972. The equipment of archery are: number 1, longbow. A longbow is a type of bow that is tall, roughly equal to or greater than the height of a person. It's not significantly recurved and has relatively narrow limbs that are circular or D-shaped in cross-section. It has been used for hunting and warfare by many cultures around the world. Number 2, shortbow. A shortbow is a smaller version of the longbow. While it is lighter and more maneuverable, it can be drawn less far. Therefore, store less energy and hence has a shorter maximum range. Short bows were used for hunting by, among others, many West Coast American tribes. Number 3, recurve bow. A recurve bow has ends of the limbs curved forward slightly, which increases the power gain from the bow and smoothens the draw. It is the only class of bow that is shot at the Olympic Games. Number 4, compound bow. A compound bow is a modern bow that uses a levering system of cables and usually comes and pulleys to draw the limbs back. In the United States, it is the dominant form of bow. Number 5, crossbow. A crossbow is a variation on the general bow design. Instead of the limbs being held vertically, they are mounted horizontally on a stock much like that of a rifle. Number 6, arrow. A normal arrow consists of shaft with an arrowhead attached to the front end, with flat chains and a knob at the other. Flat chains are found at the back of the arrow and provide a small amount of drag used to stabilize the flight of the arrow. Shafts are usually made of solid wood, fiberglass, aluminum alloy, or carbon fiber. The knob serves to keep the arrow in place on the string as the bow is being drawn. Number 7, arm guard. Protects the inside of the bow arm. Number 8, quiver. Used to hold arrows. And number 9, target. Is the something to aim at. Can be a hay bale, styrofoam target, animal model. At the Olympic Games, archers shoot a target 70 meters away. The target is 1.22 meters in diameter and marked with 10 concentric rings. Individual archers compete in head-to-head matches in single elimination after being ranked from 1 to 64 during qualifications. In each contest, both archers shoot 12 arrows and only the winner moves on. Teams are made up of 3 archers, and team events follow the same competition format as individual events. Here are the techniques in archery. Number 1, assume the shooting position. Stand at the right angle to the target with your back foot slightly forward and your feet shoulder width apart. The stance should feel comfortable and balanced. Number 2, knock the arrow. Knock an arrow while pointing and holding the bow in a safe direction. toward the target. The knock of the arrow is placed at the knocking point, which is a crimped brass or rubber ring or a marked area on the bowstring. The knock point sits the knock in the same location on the string every time you shoot. Number 3. Draw and anchor the bow. Grip the bow handle or riser, but don't squeeze it. Present the bow to the target. With your bow arm straight, raise the bow to a point that your arm is parallel to the ground, while simultaneously drawing the string back to your anchor point with your shooting hand. The anchor point is the position where your shooting hand consistently comes to a normal rest on or near your face. To ensure accuracy, make sure your bowstring hand comes to the same point each time you shoot. Number 4. Aim. Instinctively, shoot where you look, or use both sides to help you align your arrow with the target. If you use sides, you must have the proper side picture, the correct alignment of target, front side, and rear side, prior to releasing an arrow. Number 5. Release the string. Once you have the proper side picture, quickly relax your fingers or trigger the mechanical release in a smooth, confident manner. And number 6. Follow through. After releasing the arrow, follow through by focusing on the side picture you saw immediately prior to the shot. Next we have weightlifting. Weightlifting has a lengthy history. For many prehistoric tribes, the traditional test of manhood was the lifting of a special rock. Such manhood stones, some with the name of the first lifter incised, exist in Greece and in Scottish castles. The competitive lifting of stones still persists locally in Germany, Switzerland, the highlands of Montenegro, and the Basque region of Spain. In many such events, the consecutive number of lifts within a given time period is used to declare a winner. The origins of modern weightlifting competition are to be found in the 18th and 19th century strongmen, such as Eugene Sandow and Arthur Saxton of Germany, George Hackenschmidt of Russia, and Louis Apollon of France, who performed in circuses and theaters. By 1891, there was international competition in London. The revived Olympic Games of 1896 included weightlifting events, as did the Games of 1900s and 1904. But thereafter, these events were suspended until 1920. In that year, at the suggestion of the International Olympic Committee, the International Weightlifting Federation was formed to regularize events and supervise international competition. By 1928, the 1- and 2-hand lifts of earlier games had given way to only 2-hand lifts: the snatch, the clean and jerk, and the clean and press. The press was abandoned in 1972. In the games before World War II, the leading weightlifters were French, German, and Egyptian. After the war, American weightlifters were dominant until 1953. Thereafter, Soviet and Bulgarian weightlifters held a virtual monopoly on world records and championships. By the late 1990s, the leading countries competing in weightlifting were Turkey, Greece, and China. World championships were held in 1922 and 23 and from 1937, except during the war years, and European championships were held from 1924 through 1936. A weightlifting competition for women was added to the Olympic Games in 2000. Here are the equipment of weightlifting. Number 1. Barbell. The barbell is the longer version of the dumbbell that is used for free weight training and competitive sports such as powerlifting, Olympic weightlifting, and CrossFit. Many exercises can be done using the barbell, such as bicep curl, bench press, Olympic weightlifting, overhead press, deadlift, and squat. Number 2. Plates. A weight plate is a flat, heavy object usually made of cast iron that is used in combination with barbells or dumbbells to produce a bar with the desired total weight for the purpose of physical exercise. The range of weights added is 25, 20, 15, 10, 5, 2.5, and 1.25 kilograms. Number 3. Belt. A weightlifting belt has two main purposes. It reduces stress on the lower back while the person is lifting in an upright position, and it prevents back hyperextension during overhead lifts. A belt can also help beginning lifters learn to squeeze their ab muscles properly. And number 4, shoes. Weightlifting shoes have a raised heel. This is a massive advantage as it allows you to squat into a deeper position through increased ankle range of motion. This will help you to improve your overall position too, as you will find yourself sitting more upright. Here are the different lifts in weightlifting. Number 1, snatch. In the snatch, the barbell is lifted from the floor to arm's length overhead in a single, continuous, explosive movement, with the lifter being permitted to move his feet or to squat under the barbell as he lifts it before recovering to an erect position. Number 2, clean and jerk. The clean and jerk is a two-part lift. After lifting the barbell to the shoulders, the lifter jerks it overhead to arm's length, with no restrictions on the time necessary to complete the lift or on-leg movements. In both lifts, the lifter must complete the lift with feet in line, body erect, arms and legs extended, and the barbell is controlled overhead. The lifter must either hold the weight overhead for 2 seconds or wait for the referee's signal before lowering the barbell back to the floor. And number 3, press. The press was also a two-part lift. As in the clean and jerk, the barbell was brought to the lifter's shoulders, the same foot motion being allowed. Then the lifter had to stand erect until the referee signaled for the completion of the lift, which was achieved by pressing the barbell upward in a steady continuous movement to arm's length overhead, but without any assistance by moving the legs. Lastly, we have the weight categories. Men's competitions are divided into 8 body weight categories: 56 kilograms, 62 kilograms, 69 kilograms, 77 kilograms, 85 kilograms, 94 kilograms, 105 kilograms, and more than 105 kilograms. For women, there are 7 weight divisions: 48 kilograms, 58 kilograms, 58 kilograms, 63 kilograms, 69 kilograms, 75 kilograms, and more than 75 kilograms. And thus, from the individual sports, we have surfing. Surfing is a surface water sport in which the participant, referred to as a surfer, rides a surfboard on the forward face of a wave, which is most often carrying the surfer toward shore. The riding of waves has likely existed since humans began swimming in the ocean. In this sense, body surfing is the oldest type of wave catching. Stand-up on what is now called a surfboard is a relatively recent innovation developed by the Polynesians. The influences for modern surfing can be directly traced to the surfers of pre-contact Hawaii. The art of surfing, called He'enalu in the Hawaiian language, was first described in 1769 by Joseph Banks on the HMS Endeavour during the first voyage of Captain James Cook. Surfing was a central part of ancient Polynesian culture and predates European contact. Boards back then were made out of wood. Hawaiian people integrated surfing into their culture and made surfing more of an art than anything else. Surfing is still not an Olympic sport, yet it is a sport, and there are a lot of surfing competition all over the world each year. 3 major subdivisions within stand-up surfing are longboarding, shortboarding, and stand-up paddle surfing. Surfing equipment are: number 1, surfing board. Surfboards are complex hydrodynamic objects. They are made for riding waves and traditionally range from 5 to 13 feet, depending on whether they're shortboards or longboards and guns. Number 2, surf leash. A leg rope or surfboard leash is a urethane cord attached to the deck of a surfboard, down near the tail. It prevents the surfboard from being swept away by waves and stops runaway surfboards from hitting other surfers and swimmers. Number 3. Wetsuit. Wetsuits are usually worn by swimmers, divers, or surfers who swim in cold water. Wetsuits insulate the swimmers or help them retain body heat. Number 4. Surf wax. Surfboard wax, also known as surf wax, is a formulation of natural and or synthetic wax for application to the deck of a surfboard, bodyboard, or skimboard to keep the surfer from slipping off the board when paddling out or riding a wave. Number 5. Earplugs. An earplug is a device that is inserted in the ear canal to avoid intrusion of water. And number 6. Surfing board bag. Surfing bag can protect your board and store all of your necessary surf gear in one place. Here are the surfing rules and regulations. Number 1. Right of way. The fundamental rule in surfing tells us that the surfer closest to the peak always gets priority. Number 2. Don't drop in. In surfing, the general rule of thumb is one man or woman, one wave. In most cases, you can't have two surfers riding the same wave in the same direction. Dropping in may result in severe injuries and damaged surfboards, so don't do to others what you wouldn't want to be done to yourself. Number 3. Don't snake. Snaking is a very common and disrespectful behavior that can be seen especially in crowded lineups. Paddling around one or more surfers to get closer to the peak and gain priority is rude conduct. Number 4. Don't get in the way. Paddle wide, not through the peak, and stay in the water if you got caught inside and a surfer is enjoying his surf line. Number 5. The farthest out gets priority. Although some longboarders may not use this rule wisely, they should leave some waves to shortboarders. In theory, they hold priority. Number 6. Do not throw your board. Surfboards are dangerous weapons, not only for yourself, but for others around you. Always wear a leash and avoid ditching your board. Number 7. Communicate what will you do. In case two surfers are sitting in the middle of the peak and the wave opens to both sides in an A-frame wave, they should tell each other whether they're going right or left. Number 8. Do not dive head first. Whether you're surfing over reef or sand, do know that the ocean floor can severely hurt your body. Number 9. Respect the beach and the ocean. Never leave garbage in the sand or water and try to give back to Mother Nature all the hours of pleasure and joy you had. And number 10. Give respect to gain respect. Interact with other surfers in a civilized way, even if a minority is still learning good manners. Let's now proceed to the dual sports. First on the list we have table tennis. Table tennis is a common sport that could be played inside the gymnasium. This game can be played in singles or in doubles, wherein there are 2 or 4 players competing. In history, back in 1881, the table tennis was first conceived by a British officer. In 1901, the game was also known as wiff-waff, flim-flam, pom-pom, parlor tennis, indoor tennis, ping-pong, and royal game. Later, the game was named ping-pong. In 1903, Arnold Parker, a champion and a player of table tennis, formulated the first law in table tennis. In 1904, the game lost its popularity. In 1922, the game regained its popularity. And in 1926, different national associations were formed, one of which was the International Table Tennis Federation, or ITTF, which was established in Berlin. Table tennis became the #1 racket game in China, Japan, and United States. In the Philippines, it is also fast becoming a popular sport. It is now included as one of the events in athletic sports meets. The equipment of table tennis are: number 1, racket. A table tennis racket is made up of two distinct parts: a wooden blade which incorporates the handle, and table tennis rubbers affixed to each side of the blade using special table tennis glue. Most rackets are actually all very similar in size, about 15 cm across and 25 cm long including the handle. Number 2, table. The table is 274 cm long, 152.5 cm wide, and 76 cm high with a masonite or similarly manufactured timber, layered with a smooth, low-friction coating. The table or playing surface is divided into two halves. Number 3, net. A net should be 15.25 cm high. It must be light in texture and stretched across center of table and attached to the outside by vertical standards. And number 4, ball. The international rules specify that the game is played with a light 2.7 gram 40mm diameter ball. The 40mm ball was introduced after the 2000 Olympic Games. Next we have badminton. Badminton first originated in India, where it was known as Pune. Badminton got the name from the place Badminton House, the hometown of Duke of Beaufort, Gloucestershire, England. In 1860s, the first game of Pune played. In 1878, it was introduced in New York, United States. In 1879, Badminton Association was formed in the New York City. In 1887, the Bath Badminton Club was formed and the rules were formalized and standardized for tournament play. In 1936, the American Badminton Association was formed. And in 1937, first national tournament was held in Chicago. Badminton rules of the game. It is played by 2 or 4 players, either indoors or outdoors. A net is fixed across the middle of the court. Only the serving side can win a point. If the serving side fails to return the shuttlecock, it loses the serve. If the receiving side fails to return the shuttlecock, it loses the point and must receive again. A game is played to 21 points. Best of 3. The scoring system are: points are scored only by the serving side. A point is rewarded to the serving side whenever the other side commits a fault. If a fault is committed by the serving side, the server does not score a point and loses the serve. We have here the facilities and equipment of badminton. So here is the full dimension of the court. Number 1, shuttlecock or bird. A shuttlecock is a high-drag projectile used in the sport of badminton. It has an open, conical shape formed by feathers embedded into a rounded court base. The shuttlecock's shape makes it extremely aerodynamically stable. Number 2, racket. A racket is a piece of sports equipment which has a handled frame and an open hook where the strings are tightly constructed. Most of the time, these rackets are used for hitting a ball or shuttlecocks in games such as badminton and tennis. A badminton racket must be lightweight and weigh less than 100 grams when used. Number 3, net. The net is 760 mm in depth and a minimum of 6.1 meters wide. The top of the net from the surface of the court is 1.524 meters at the center of the court and 1.55 meters over the side lengths for doubles. There must be no gaps between the ends of the net and the posts. If necessary, the full depth of the net at the ends is tied to the posts. And number 4, post. The posts are 1.55 meters high from the surface of the court and remain vertical when the net is screened. The posts are placed on the double sidelines irrespective of whether singles or doubles is played. The posts or supports must not extend into the court beyond the sidelines. And finally, we have here the badminton grips, the forehand and backhand grip. Next is chess. So what about chess? It is a board game played by two people. Each player controls an army of 16 pieces. Each piece moves in a unique manner, in a game of strategy and concentration. The basic pieces and move of chess are: number 1, rook. The rook moves like a plus. It moves up, down, or sideways as far as it wants to go. Number 2, bishop. The bishop moves like an X. It moves diagonally as far as it wants to go. Number 3, knight. The knight moves like the letter L. It moves 2 squares in any direction, then 1 square sideways, and it can jump. Number 4, queen. The queen can move in any direction as far as she wants. She moves like a rook and a bishop. Number 5, king. The king moves 1 square in any direction. It cannot move into check, an attack by the opponent's piece. And number 6, pawn. The pawn moves 1 square forward or 2 squares on its first move. It never moves backwards and it captures diagonally. Here are the special moves in chess. Number 1, castling. Can only be done if the following conditions are all present. Neither the king nor the rook being used have been moved yet during the game. If either piece has been moved, then castling is not allowed, even if the piece is moved back to its original square. All the squares between the king and the rook must be empty. The king must not be in check, nor can castling move the king through a square where he would be in check. If all these conditions are met, castling is done by moving the king 2 squares towards the rook, while the rook hops over the king, landing on the square next to the king. Number 2, en passant. Allows a pawn which has moved 2 squares to be captured as though it only moved 1. The following conditions must all be present for an en passant capture to be legal. The capturing pawn must be on its 5th rank. The opponent must move a pawn 2 squares, landing the pawn directly alongside the capturing pawn on the 5th rank. The capture must be made immediately. You only get 1 chance to capture en passant. If all those conditions are met, an en passant capture is possible. And number 3, pawn promotion. Should the pawn manage to make it all the way to the other end of the board, the pawn must promote to any piece its owner wants, other than a king. Most of the time, a pawn will be promoted to a queen. However, you can also choose to promote to a rook, knight, or bishop. Promoting to something other than a queen is known as under promotion. Here is the board setup. Rooks go into the 2 corner, squares its army. Knights go next to the rooks of the same color. Bishops are placed next to the knights. The queen is placed on the center square of its color. The king is placed next to the queen of the same color. Pawns go in the row in front of its army. The chess rules are: number 1, chess is played between 2 players, white and black. Number 2, the 2 players alternate turns. White always move first, moving 1 piece at a time with the ultimate goal of capturing the enemy king. Number 3, there are 6 pieces in chess. Each moves in a unique way. Number 4, all pieces do share some common traits. For instance, no piece is allowed to land on a square occupied by a friendly piece. Number 5, if a piece lands on a square occupied by an enemy piece, that enemy is captured and removed from the board. Number 6, also, with the exception of the knight, Pieces are not permitted to jump over other pieces. The chess game phases are opening. Both sides develop their pieces and formulate their plans. Middle game is where the largest battles are waged between the armies. Endgame is a tense battle between the few remaining forces on the board. And the chess game ending are checkmate, a situation in which a player's king is being attacked, and there is no means for the king to avoid being captured on the next turn. Stalemate occurs when one player has no legal moves and is not in check. This ends the game as a draw. And other draws include threefold repetition, exact position occurring 3 times with the player, or the 50-move rule. No piece captured after 50 consecutive moves by each player. Next we have lawn tennis. Tennis is a sport usually played between 2 players or between 2 teams of 2 players each. Each player uses a racket that is strung to strike a hollow rubber ball covered with felt over a net into the opponent's court. The modern game of tennis originated in late 19th century England. Most historians believe that the game's ancient origin is from 12th century France, but the ball was then struck with the palm of the hand. It was not until the 16th century that rackets came into use, and the game began to be called tennis. Between 1859 and 1865, Harry Jem and his friend Ogorio Pereira developed a game that combined elements of rackets and the basketball game pelota, which they played on Perrier as croquet lawn in Birmingham, United Kingdom. On May 21, 1881, the United States National Lawn Tennis Association was formed to standardize the rules and organize competitions. The U.S. National Men's Singles Championship, now the U.S. Open, was first held in 1881 at Newport, Rhode Island. The U.S. National Women's Singles Championships were first held in 1887. Tennis facilities and equipment. Racket. The components of a tennis racket include a handle, known as the grip, connected to a neck which joins a roughly elliptical frame that holds a matrix of tightly pulled strings. Ball. Tennis balls are of hollow rubber with a felt coating. Court. Tennis is played on a rectangular, flat surface, usually grass, clay, a carpet court of concrete, and/or asphalt. Scoring. A tennis match is determined through the best of 3 or 5 sets, while recreational players may agree to play any number of sets, depending upon time. Different shots in tennis. Service. A serve in tennis is a shot to start a point. The serve is initiated by tossing the ball into the air and hitting it into the diagonally opposite service box without touching the net. Forehand. For a right-handed player, the forehand is a stroke that begins on the right side of the body, continues across the body as contact is made with the ball, and ends on the left side of the body. Backhand. For right-handed players, the backhand is a stroke that begins on the left side of their body, continues across their body as contact is made with the ball, and ends on the right side of their body. Other shots we have volley, half volley, lob, overhead smash, and drop shot. Let's now proceed to billiards. The origin of the game we call billiards is a bit of a mystery. Most historians believe that the game has its origins in 14th century Britain, where games were commonly played outdoors using balls and clubs, while others will try to trace the game to ancient Egypt. Billiards equipment. Number 1. Table. A billiard table or billiards table is a bounded table on which cue sports are played. In the modern era, all billiards tables provide a flat surface, usually made of quarried slate, that is covered with cloth and surrounded by vulcanized rubber cushions with the whole thing elevated above the floor. Number 2. Cue stick. A cue stick, or simply cue, more specifically billiards cue, pool cue, or snooker cue, is an item of sporting equipment essential to the games of pool, snooker, and carom billiards. It is used to strike a ball, usually the cue ball. Number 3. Chalk cue. Chalk is used to provide friction between the cue tip and cue ball during contact to prevent a miscue. And number 4. Powder. Powder is used to provide smooth friction between the hand and the cue stick for a better shot. The fundamental techniques in billiards we have the pre-shot routine. Pre-shot routine refers to a series of steps that a ball player must undertake prior to executing each and every shot. These steps are necessary to develop correct habits that will improve and promote consistency in your game. The pool stance. Pool players vary when it comes to size, shape, and mobility. Therefore, the stance will not be the same for all types of players. The pool grip. A good grip is an important aspect in the game of pocket billiards. A proper grip allows you to make accurate shots. The bridge. There are many types of bridges, each of which serves its own purpose. However, the main function of the bridge is to lock your cue stick into position to minimize unnecessary sideways movement. The pool stroke. There is no question that the stroke is the one of the most important elements in the game of pocket billiards, snooker, or any cue sport. A smooth, straight stroke is key in pocketing your object balls accurately. Let's now proceed to the team sports. First, we have basketball. The history of basketball began when James Naismith, a physical education instructor in Springfield, Massachusetts, invented basketball in 1891 and used pitch baskets as hoops. In the early 1900s, the iron rim and net were invented. The basketball facility and equipment are ball, jersey, rim or goals, comfortable shoes, and the court. So here is the basketball court looks like. How to play basketball? There are 2 teams of 5 players each. Regulation games. In high school, 4 to 8 minute quarters. In college, 2 to 20 minute halves. In NBA, 4 to 12 minute quarters. Game starts with a jump ball at midcourt. Ball advances by dribbling, passing, or shooting. The game is won by the team with the most points after time has expired. Scoring: floor shots 2 points, beyond 3-point line 3 points, free throw 1 point. We have here the positions in basketball. Guard. Normally the shortest and fastest players on the team. These players must be really good at dribbling, seeing the court, and passing the ball. It is their job to bring the ball down the court and set up offensive plays. Forward. Normally the second tallest player on the team. These players can be positioned under the hoop and may also play in the wings and corner areas. Center. Centers are generally the tallest players. They are usually positioned near the basket. The basic skills in basketball are: number 1, dribbling. Using the finger pads to move the ball from one place to another, keeping it under control using pushing motion. Number 2, bounce pass. A pass that bounces off the floor before it reaches the receiver. Number 3, chest pass. A two-handed pass thrown from chest height. Number 4, overhead pass. A pass thrown from over the head to clear a defender or for added power. Number 5, catching. Receiving a pass or thrown without letting it hit the floor. Number 6, rebounding. The act of successfully gaining possession after a missed basket or free throw. Number 7, jump shot. A shot taken while the player is jumping through the air. Number 8, set shot. A shot taken with both feet on the floor in a set position. Number 9, pivoting. To hold onto the ball and move around legally by keeping one foot in the same spot. Number 10, three-point shot. A shot taken from outside a designated area on the court that scores 3 points if made. Number 11, layup. A type of shot where the player dribbles to the basket and without stopping shoots the ball. Right, left, hop, shoot. And number 12, free throw. A free shot taken from the free throw line as the result of a foul, worth 1 point if made. Defense. The team that does not have possession of the ball. The process used by a team to prevent an opponent from scoring. There are 2 types of defense. Man-to-man defense. A defense in which a player guards another specific player. And zone defense. A defense that covers an area or a zone instead of a specific player. Under offense, we have screening. The act of blocking a defender from guarding or staying close to another player. Cutting. An explosive movement toward the basket when trying to elude the defender. Guarding. Keeping an opponent from scoring or receiving the ball from a teammate. Pick and roll. An offensive play where a player sets the screen on a teammate's defensive player and pivots and rolls toward the basket to receive a pass. Give and go. An offensive play where the ball handler passes to a teammate, moves to the basket, and receives a quick pass for a shot. And steal. When the defense takes control of the ball legally. The violations in basketball are double dribble. A violation of dribbling the ball with 2 hands or stopping and restarting the dribble. Traveling. A violation of moving with the ball without dribbling. Carrying or palming. When a player dribbles the ball with his hand too far to the side of or sometimes even under the ball. Personal foul. A foul that involves illegal physical contact such as blocking, charging, elbowing, or holding. Charging. An offensive foul that committed when a player pushes or runs over a defensive player. The ball is given to the opposing team. Blocking. Illegal personal contact resulting from a defender not establishing position in time to prevent an opponent's drive to the basket. Flagrant foul. Violent contact with an opponent including hitting, kicking, and punching. This type of foul results in free throws for the opponent in addition to them retaining possession of the ball after the free throws. Technical foul. A foul call against a player or coach for unsportsmanlike conduct such as arguing with the referee. Next we have water polo. Water polo is a team water sport. The team consists in 6 players and a goalkeeper. The team who scores more goals wins. The gameplay involves swimming, treading water, players passing the ball while being defended by opponents, and scoring by throwing the ball into a net defended by a goalie. Water polo became an Olympic game in 1900s. In water polo equipment, we have ball, cups, goals, mouth guard, and swimsuit. Of course, we have the standard pool. Here are the water polo rules of the game. Water polo combines the rules of basketball, soccer, and hockey with wrestling and swimming. Players can only use one hand to hold the ball. Teams consist of 6 field players and 1 goalie, as well as substitutes. The objective of the game is to score in the opposite team's goal like in soccer. Only the goalie can use 2 hands when he is within 5 meters of his own goal. Players advance the ball by passing to teammates or swimming with the ball in front of them. There are personal fouls like in basketball. There are man advantages like in hockey. Like in basketball, teams have a shot clocks that vary by age groups. Faults in water polo. There are two kinds of water polo faults, ordinary and major. Ordinary faults account for approximately 90%, while exclusions and penalties make up the rest. Ordinary faults include grabbing the ball with two hands, taking the ball underwater when tackled, impeding an opponent who is not holding the ball, holding or pushing a player underwater when they do not have the ball, pushing off of an opponent, stalling or failing to shoot or advance the ball within 30 seconds, and lastly, splashing. Major faults include misconduct or disrespecting the referee, aggressively holding, sinking or pulling back an opponent not holding the ball, impeding or pushing off an opponent before a free throw, goal throw, corner throw, or penalty throw is taken, committing an act of misconduct by using fault language or violent or persistent foul play, kicking or striking a player, deliberate splashing in the face, an ordinary fault committed by the defense during dead time, and lastly, interfering with a free throw. Different positions in water polo we have drivers. Drivers are filled around their defender and outside shooting techniques. To score, drivers must be extremely fast swimmers and be good shooters. Center forward. The center forward is the offensive player who takes position directly in front of the opponent's goal on 2 meters. Center forwards typically have above average size, great leg strength, excellent passing abilities, and are skilled shooters. They are similar to centers in basketball, in that they post up looking for a pass that enables them to get a close shot at the goal. The center forwards are always closely guarded. 2-meter defender. The 2-meter defender's primary job is to guard the 2-meter man. This player usually guards the biggest player on the other team. The position requires agility to constantly readjust the guarding position in order to guard the 2-meter man from different passes coming from the perimeter. The play at the 2-meter position is usually the most physical in the pool, and 90% of the exclusion fouls occur as the 2-meter defender desperately tries to stop the 2-meter man from scoring. Utility players. Utility players can play all positions in the pool, like a halfback in soccer. The utility players will switch positions when they see an opportunity to score. Utility players are most effective when they drive in and play whole set and quickly score against a defender who is inexperienced guarding that position. And lastly, goalkeeper. The goalkeeper is the only player permitted to take the ball in both hands. They patrol the goal and are called upon to make saves to prevent an opponent from scoring. They are allowed to shoot at the opponent's goal, as long as they do so from their half of the pool. Next we have soccer. It is a team sport played between 2 teams of 11 players each. Players use a spherical ball which is a round, leather-covered, inflated rubber, bladder 27 to 28 inches in circumference and 397 to 454 grams in weight. The game is played within a clearly defined area on a rectangular grass or artificial turf with a goal in the center of each of the short ends. The objective of the game is to score by driving the ball into the opponent's goal. Records trace the history of soccer back more than 2,000 years ago to ancient China. Greece, Rome, and parts of Central America also claim to have started the sport, but it was England that transitioned soccer, or what the British and many other people around the world called football into the game we know today. Soccer equipment includes uniform, practice clothes, soccer cleats, shin guards, soccer socks, ball, goalkeeper gloves, water bottle, and gear bag. Of course, we have the court. The rules of soccer. There are 11 players for each team. All players wear shin guards in order to protect their shins. The goalkeeper is the only player who can get the ball with his hands. A goal is scored when the whole of the ball passes over the goal line, between the goal posts and under the crossbar, provided that no fault has been committed previously by the team scoring the goal. The team scoring the greater number of goals during the match is the winner. If both teams are tied at the end of regulation, the match will be recorded as a tie during regular season. In soccer, we have the number 1, penalty kick. Penalty kick is when a player commits any foul within his own penalty box. Number 2, corner kick. Corner kick is when the ball goes out of bounds over the end line and was last touched by the defending team. Number 3, slide tackle. When a defender slides on the ground and kicks the ball away from the player. And number 4, cards. Yellow card indicates caution. A player who receives 2 yellow cards is given a red card. Red card, the player must leave the field and he can play the next game. The players are the goalkeeper, left fullback, right fullback, center back, left back, right back, left midfield, right midfield, left forward, center forward, and right forward. Next we have the field hockey. The game played with curved sticks and a ball have been found throughout history and the world. Exactly when and where the sport originated from is not known, but drawings that are thought to be 4,000 years old in the Beni Hassen tomb in the Nile Valley in Egypt, depicting men playing the sport. An English woman named Constance Appleby introduced field hockey to the United States in 1901. Excitement about field hockey spread quickly, and soon a number of other women's schools took up the sport. In 1922, the United States Field Hockey Association was founded to help promote the sport and create more enthusiasm for it. The field hockey equipment are ball, bat, cleats, shin guards, goggles, mouth guards, gloves and masks, of course, the field. Positions and player strengths. There are 11 players on the field per team, including the goalie and 10 field players. Formations often consist of 4 forwards, 3 halfbacks, 3 fullbacks, and 1 goalkeeper, known as the 4-3-3 formation. Variations such as the 5-3-2 are also used depending on the coach's strategy. Forwards. Primary scorers who spend most of the time between the midfield and the opponent's goal. Midfielders must be able to play both defense and offense and have the stamina to run the field in the transition between offense and defense, also called links. Fullbacks or sweeper primarily defend the opposing forwards and attempt to clear the ball when it gets close to the goal. And lastly, goalie. He stands in front of the goal to block shots with his or her body and stick. Must have quick reflexes and ability to communicate defensive strategies to teammates. It is played with 2 halves 20 to 45 minutes each, with a 5 to 15 minute halftime. 11 players per side, including the goalkeeper. The ball must be passed or dribbled down the field with the flat side of the stick. A goal is scored when an attacker strikes the ball into the goal from within the striking circle. Field hockey rules of the game. Shield or obstruct the ball from an opponent with a body or stick. All players must have an equal chance to gain control of the ball as it's dribbled or passed down the field. Play the ball with the rounded side of the stick. Charge, hit, shove, or trip an opponent. Play the ball in a potentially dangerous way. Raise the stick above the waist in a dangerous pattern while attempting to play or stop the ball. Advance the ball by any means other than with a stick. Stop or deflect the ball in the air or on the ground with any part of the body. Hit, hook, hold, or interfere with an opponent's stick. And lastly, we have the volleyball. On February 9, 1895, in Holyoke, Massachusetts, USA, William G. Morgan, a YMCA physical education director, created a new game called Mintonette as a pastime to be played preferably indoors and by any number of players. The Fédération Internationale de Volleyball was founded in 1947, and the first World Championships were held in 1949 for men and 1952 for women. The sport was officially included in the program for the 1964 Summer Olympics. Beach volleyball, a variation of the game played on sand and with only 2 players per team, became a FIVB endorsed variation in 1987 and was added to the Olympic program of the 1996 Summer Olympics. Volleyball is also a sport at the Paralympics, managed by the World Organization Volleyball for Disabled. Here's how to play volleyball. A player on one of the teams begins a rally by serving the ball from behind the back boundary line of the court, over the net, and into the receiving team's court. The receiving team must not let the ball be grounded within their court. They may touch the ball as many as 3 times. The rally continues with each team allowed as many as 3 consecutive touches. The team that wins the rally is awarded a point and serves the ball to start the next rally. The game continues with the first team to score 25 points and be 2 points ahead, awarded a set. Matches are best of 5 sets, and the 5th set, if necessary, is usually played to 15 points. The ball is usually played with the hands or arms, but players can legally strike or push, short contact, the ball with any part of the body. Volleyball equipment, we have ball. Made of leather or synthetic leather, have a circumference of 65 to 67 centimeters, a weight of 260 to 280 grams, and an inside pressure of 0.30 to 0.325 kilograms per centimeter square. Net. 1 meter wide net placed so that the top of the net is 2.43 meters for men's competition and 2.24 meters for women's competition. Court. A court 18 meters long and 9 meters wide, divided into 2 9 meters by 9 meters halves by a net. Attack line. This line divides the court into back row and front row areas, also back court and front court. Free zone, which is a minimum of 3 meters wide and which the players may enter and play within after the service of the ball. If a ball comes in contact with the line, the ball is considered to be in. An antenna is placed on each side of the net perpendicular to the sideline and is a vertical extension of the side boundary of the court. A ball passing over the net must pass completely between the antenna without contacting them. Skills and techniques in volleyball: service, set, pass, attack, block, and lead. Players in volleyball includes setters. They aim for second touch and their main responsibility is to place the ball in the air where the attackers can place the ball into the opponent's court for a point. Setters need to have swift and skillful appraisal and tactical accuracy and must be quick at moving around the court. Liberos are defensive players who are responsible for receiving the attack or serve. They are usually the players on the court with the quickest reaction time and best passing skills. Middle blockers or middle hitters are players that can perform very fast attacks that usually take place near the setter. They are specialized in blocking. Outside hitters or left side hitters attack from near the left antenna. The outside hitter is usually the most consistent hitter on the team and gets the most sets. Opposite hitters or right side hitters carry the defensive workload for a volleyball team in the front row. Their primary responsibilities are to put up a well-formed block against the opponent's outside hitters and serve as a backup setter. And the common faults are causing the ball to touch the ground outside the opponent's court or without first passing over the net, catching and throwing the ball, double hit, 2 consecutive contacts with the ball made by the same player, 4 consecutive contacts with the ball made by the same team, net foul, touching the net during the play. So, that's all. Thank you for your time and listening. God bless us all.